yeah, like you hit the nail on the head about wanting not to talk about. So if you're okay talking about mythical or imagined conflicts between Hindus and Buddhists, but you don't want to talk about documented aspects of actual attacks, of genocide of the Hindus from the Islamic conquest over 1,000 long years. I mean, I think it was Dr. K.S. Lal, the historian, who had said something like 8 to 10 crore Hindus. The population of the subcontinent itself fell by about 8 to 10 crores between 1000 CE with the conquest of Afghanistan till the end of the Delhi Sultanate in 1525. So in those 500 years, there was this kind of a fall in the population of this subcontinent. And that did not happen just because everyone just dropped down dead. So, and you have Sitaram Goyal again in his very, very seminal and well-researched book listing all the temples that have been destroyed, almost 40,000 temples at the least, which were destroyed. Now, these are facts which need to be spoken about. It's not, again, I keep repeating this time and again, that it is not something that, as these historians and some of these politicians think, that today's Muslim men or women, a young person today, needs to be responsible for or needs to be hauled up for. It's not an albatross that you need to hang on their necks, because they're not responsible. They're probably as much a victim as anyone else, because probably our ancestors were either very lucky or brave that we continue to hold on to our faith. Whereas probably for some other people, it was a very unfortunate situation that they had to succumb. And so none of these people who are here have come from, say, from the Arab stock or from Jerusalem or anyone else. They're all Indians who were forced to convert for various reasons. Some may be voluntary, and a lot also through coercion and all of that. So we need to dehyphenate this. And first of all, the very idea that a Muslim person needs to have an icon who belongs to the same community, I think that is deeply problematic. You don't have to create false icons just to make a particular community feel very happy and secure. But even if that is the case, you have a plethora of Muslims, right from Kabir to Ras Khan to, so many others. Sant Shishunal Sharif from my, state of Karnataka. You have APJ Abdul Kalam. You have Arif Muhammad Khan. You have so many others. Yeah.
Tariq Fateh ji.
Yes, so many who could be your, role models, and not necessarily Ghazni and Ghori and Aurangzeb, Sultan. And to make them icons, you have to whitewash. They put a lot of effort to whitewash their crimes, which is again telling the Muslims today that your heroes are these people, which I think is wrong. And that is, if that nation building tool, which was, revealed as the tool that history is what is the cause. This is a very bad way to build a nation, which is a nation whose foundation is built on lies and whitewashing. It is going to crumble at the very first breeze that is going to come. And that's exactly what has been happening time and again, because we've not made that foundation strong. We have not spoken of those tales of assimilation, rather spoken only to whitewash crimes, which will blow up in your face anytime. But then this is the false, assumption that these people labor under, that somehow these people, a community is going to feel very offended if you actually bring out the truth. You had that infamous circular, I think in 1989 in West Bengal, which was under communist rule then, where it had surveyed all the books, the history textbooks of the state syllabus of all classes, and came out with a circular issued by the government, mind you. I mean, the authority as the West Bengal government issuing a circular to the state board or whatever, saying how the books need to be revised. So there were two columns, one saying Ashuddho or impure, and the other saying Shuddho, which was the pure part. So under the Ashuddho came all the excesses. That Mahmud Ghazni demolished the Somnath Mandir, the Shivling was taken away and smashed into pieces and made as steps of masjid. That came under Ashuddho, and Shuddho said this should be deleted. So like that, if you actually see the several pages and pages of correction that was done, maximum amount of it being of Aurangzeb's crimes being whitewashed. It's an exercise as to what distortion and rewriting of history actually is, where all these uncomfortable truths should not be told. Why? Because today's Muslims will feel very bad about it. You should tell them that this was how this civilization was treated. Will Durant had called the Islamic conquest of India as one of the bloodiest stories of human history, not just of our country, but of human history. So all these points laid bear in front of them, not with revenge or as vengeful stories, but as timely reminders as to what would happen and what should not happen in our country ever again, and that the Muslims of our country need not either identify with these terrible elements, nor are they responsible for what they did, because then. And it's not some historical thing, Pujita ji. We know we are seeing it unravel in front of our eyes in Afghanistan with the Taliban's resurgence. Yes. So how the Taliban is treating its people or people of other faiths, women and so on, is not very different from what the Delhi Sultanate or the Mughals would have done 500, 600 years back. So we are not talking about some old story and reviving vengeful tales. It is happening right now in front of our eyes. And so this is a timely reminder to the Muslims of our country too, not to associate themselves with these elements which are so decadent, but actually have peaceful icons or have larger belief in the history of our country. Indonesia, being a completely, a Muslim majority country, still believes, I mean, the Ram Leela is a national, art. The whole depiction of the Ram Leela. So where the
airline is Garuda and
yes, everything there. If you see all those countries, how can that coexistence happen where they acknowledge that culturally they are Hindu, but their roots are Hindu? But their faith is Muslim. So be it. That's a beautiful coexistence to happen. So why can't that happen in a secular country like India? Everybody just says, yeah, by your faith, you're whatever you are, and that's perfectly fine. The Sanatan Dharma allows different opinions to thrive, including atheists and agnostics and everything. It will certainly allow someone a worship of Allah or Jesus or whatever else. So what's the big deal? I mean, even Ninda Stuti was allowed, where bhakti poets, in the worst of way, we were doing Ninda of the gods we worship. Sages and their wives would curse our very gods. Vishnu got cursed by Tulsi, Vrinda, who lived in Tulsi. So all these stories are there. So we are very accommodative. We will embrace all these faiths. So the only thing is, what's wrong in that whole, belief that culturally and by our roots, we are a particular, belief, which is the Sanatan belief. And then we've branched out into different paths. And we anyway say Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. So all these paths lead to the truth as we see it. So I think if that sort of a approach is taken, rather than do subterfuge and do all this whitewash and all of that, it's going to blow up in your face sometime, and that's what is happening now.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.